Hello everybody, welcome back to Aurora 4X and welcome back to the Aeolian system. So if you'll recall, in the last couple of episodes we had our first expedition into the Aeolian system where we have the aliens with their Russian themed ships, and they completely destroyed with very effective missile salvos the first fleet that we sent in. Now, the first fleet was composed of 3 strike cruisers, I think 6 missile destroyers, and 12 escort frigates. And we discovered that, first of all, we were a bit slower than they were, so we couldn't escape them. And so the solution is, first of all, to get better technology, get faster engines, which incidentally we've just now finished researching ion drives. So we've got a few more, tech bits to research before we completely overhaul the military ships. But that'll be that is the next order of business is modernizing our ship designs. However, we spent the last couple of years rebuilding our fleet, and we ran into some issues, mainly that we were basically out of gallicite. In the Sol system, the only good sources of gallicite left, there's a couple comets that we're mining. Hale-Bopp is one of them. But the only other ones are really far out. Let's see, I think, Temple we're also mining. McNaught-Russell and Brooks have gallicite, but they're really far. However, I did recently complete a much larger tug, about twice the size as my regular tug, which basically doubles the speed at which I can deploy my excavators. So I've got an excavator heading out to McNaught-Russell, but it's going to take another year or two before it gets there, because it's really, really far. Now, in the meantime, I have set up an excavator out here in the Belasco system. Honestly, this was almost just as far as McNaught-Russell, maybe about 15 billion kilometers, because it's 5 billion to the jump, then 10 billion in that system. And we've almost completely mined this dry, so this is a short-term deployment. My original plan had been to deploy to this asteroid, but unfortunately it's too large for me to orbital mine from it, so that was a bit of a failure on my part. We have a new colony set up in the Barseg system. The Barseg system is not close, but there's a lot of promising colonies. Oh, looks like we got a bit of a miss here. Let's, whatever. Oh, sorry, I was clicking on my other monitor here. This is a galaxy map. So here's the Barseg system. It's 21 billion kilometers from Sol. So, it means I have to ascend a tanker with all my freighters and stuff like that. But Barseg has all these colonizable planets. Importantly, it's my only reliable large source of gallicite. So we've got a colony started there, and we're trying to get a bunch of infrastructure there and mines there, and hopefully this will be our medium-term gallicite solution. So we ran out of gallicite, so we had to kind of ration things for a little bit, but we persevered. We managed. I'll show you that in a moment. Now we currently still have a bunch of recently produced ships in training, but this is going to be my reserve fleet. Meanwhile, I've concentrated all available ships into the Uvina Fleet 2. And as you can see, we have 10 strike cruisers, 27 escort frigates, and 15 missile destroyers, for a total military tonnage of 485,000 tons. We have just jumped, everything's refueled and the maintenance is good. We have just jumped into the Aeolian system, and it is time to get some revenge on these aliens. So let's hope this works better than last time. Now, if I remember correctly, the aliens are located, I think it was Isulian 2. Honestly, I forget. We'll just head to the inner system and we should find them sooner or later. I'm going to move to location. And yeah, I guess before we move in here, let me just brief update on other goings on. Well, in terms of research, I'm slowly getting ceramic composites. I'm working on some more CP tech. And after power and production and propulsion, we'll do like sensors and weapon upgrades. We'll upgrade like everything on the ships. And I've currently paused ship construction because I just want to build up resources so that it'll be easier to produce the next batch. Now the Jovians are colonized. Io is completely terraformed. Europa is almost completely terraformed, just needs a little bit more water. Callisto has been warmed up, and we're now adding water. After that will be oxygen, and Ganymede still hasn't been terraformed. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's get to it. All right, so let's make our approach to all right. A lot of tension in the air, I assume, on the bridges of these ships. Excuse me as I had to cough there. Okay. We have hostile contacts. So we're currently at 118 million kilometers. Our goal is to get within missile range and hopefully survive the missile barrage. Now, I remember that their missiles shoot at about 50 million kilometers, so I'm going to approach somewhat freely until we get within, close to their missile range. We've detected a new class, which we didn't have before, the Avtroil. And now we're getting close enough so that we can detect their smaller ships. Once again, so the contact list has been updated. All right, they should be launching missiles now. Yep, the time increment was adjusted. So now we're in like sort of 15-second time increment mode. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to we're going to start incrementing here because what I don't want to have happen, I know it's going to take a long time. Actually, I could calculate this. Their missiles traveled at roughly 30,000 kilometers per second. So if they have to travel, let's say, roughly 60 million kilometers, that means we divide the 60 million by the 30,000, we'll get 2,000 seconds. So that's like a bit less than an hour. But of course, I'm moving in this direction. That'll reduce it by, that's another like 16% difference because I'm moving about a sixth of their speed. So we're talking like we have like half an hour. So we can kind of, instead of clicking this, we can do like 20 minutes. Oh, if the game lets me. Yeah, right now the game is going in 15-second increments. This is just ugh. We did it again. God damn it, every time. All right, well, look, it's like the tax we have to pay for being lazy and just clicking, just clicking really, really quickly all the time. All right, let's, that's, I think, is an unfortunate side effect here. Now, this is challenging though. So we have many more ships. However, the missile salvos are much larger because they apparently have also built up their presence. So last time we were struggling to shoot down 60 missiles. And you can see this time well, you can see in this volley here, there are, yeah, actually there's 72 missiles. Okay, I think proportionately we're still stronger than we were before. But let's make sure. Let's see what happens. Here we go. Fantastic. Look at that. Energy weapon impacts everywhere. We shot down every single missile. That is what I love to hear. So here's what the combat summary looks like. So our hit chance is still about 40%. Like a bit over 40%, but we just have enough guns that we can just destroy all these incoming missiles. So that's very exciting. So what that means is we should be able to approach, what I'm hoping we can do now is approach within our missile range, which will hopefully be outside. If we get within their anti-missile range, we're kind of screwed. But, so in other words, I don't intend to close into brawling range. I only intend to get within my own missile range and see if we can cause any damage at that range. And after that, we will turn around. Knowing that we can cover our retreat with our point defense systems. Now, actually, the salvo size is sort of increasing, but so far we still haven't been hit by anything. Our PD is still up to the task, which is really, really cool. And this is, you know, they're shooting like 100 missiles every 15 seconds. So that's like also an economic strain. Like, our guns don't cost us anything to fire. It's renewable energy. So we are completely depleting their missiles. Now, to be fair, it's entirely possible that we are going to shoot our missiles and have no impact. So, you know, my criticism might not be, might apply to my missile systems just as easily as it will to their missile systems. We'll see. All right, the laser guns are firing like crazy. Oh, it looks like, okay, either they have run out of missiles or, I don't know, they have stopped shooting for some reason, which is pretty interesting. I'm gonna keep moving forward in 5-second increments though, because I'm a little paranoid. The only times they've gotten through my defenses was by kind of surprising me. Actually, I'm not going to do this. That's a bit ridiculous. What we are going to do is we're going to do 5-second subpulses, and we're going to go forward like this. Yeah. Okay, so remember, we're trying to get within about 24 million kilometers, which is the range of our missiles. Let's go to... God damn it. You know, I'm going to double check to see if there isn't like a setting that I have not activated properly, because that's just so frustrating. It really just has to do with the time grids, but like it should interrupt because if the subpulse is 5 seconds, it should be checking detection at that time interval. God, that's so frustrating. That's something I'll have to double check. Anyways, just to be safe, I'm going to increment really slowly here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the recording, and I'll get back to you when we close within range. And we are back. So I actually stepped away from the computer, did a few other things, but we're back now in the game, and I've progressed until we have made it in missile range of the planet Asolian A2. Now I've modified the order so that we're going to follow at 24 million kilometers. And on the way in, I shot down a fair number of missiles, but the salvos were much smaller. They appear to have run out. The missiles, the ships that were shooting the 14 missile salvos appear to have run out of ammo. And every once in a while, you get a couple of 4 missile salvos, but that is it. So I suspect there's still a bajillion anti-missile missiles, so I don't want to get too close. But now the interesting thing is, what target do I shoot at? So I actually don't want to shoot the missile cruisers, because the missile cruisers, their missile cruisers do nothing to me. What I'd like to shoot are either the missile ships or like the beamers, the PD ships. But I don't know which ones that is. What I suspect, based on the number of 14 missile salvos, is I suspect that the Karlamov and the Spiridonov, like this size class, is shooting the 14 salvos of missiles. And then I think the 4 salvos of missiles must be some of these 7,500 tons. So that would leave, some of these other designs as potential targets. Also, some of these have moved, some of these haven't, and I just don't know. So the question is, should I maybe target a smaller ship to increase the chances that I actually kill something? And I think that's a legitimate first step. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to target the Zakharov here, because it's unique. And I figure if they only have one of them, well, now they won't have any of them. So whatever functionality it was providing to the fleet, it should, cease to have that functionality. So we're going to take the leverage. We are going to find the Zakharov. We are going to assign that target to everybody in the system. And then we are going to open fire. And we are also going to do assign all in the system. So everybody here should now fire a round of missiles. So this is going to be 15, this is going to be Each ship fires 20 missiles. I've got 15 ships. That's going to be 300 missiles. Let's see if anything hits. So what we're going to do is we're going to just move time forward in one increment. Interestingly, so sensor data reveals that alien has an ECM rating of 10. And we had a bunch of maintenance problems, but that's okay. So that's a new thing in Aurora C#. Sometimes your missiles can fail to fire. But let's see how this salvo does. So we're now going to cease fire all, because I want to wait for this salvo. I don't want to fire like a second salvo behind the first one. I just want to see how this one does. So here's the salvo. And let's see what happens. I'm going to pause the recording and we'll catch up with you in just a moment. Okay, welcome back. So the missiles have traveled most of the way there. As you can see, we are about 1 million. Yeah, we're about 1 million kilometers away. And we just got hit by, or our volley just got hit by a round of anti-missile missiles. And so you can see here, there were 74 nuclear detonations, 66, 5, 68. So literally hundreds of AMMs were just shot at us. And as a result, we started with 300 missiles, and we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 70, let's say 80 to 90 missiles left. So their AMM screen alone has taken out like 220 out of 300 missiles. Now granted, my missiles are super easy to hit, they're very slow, but that's just, imagine if I'd walked into this with my ships, I would have taken like 300 points of damage just from like super fast, tiny AMMs. So that's very interesting. I'm curious to see if how fast their AMMs fire, and if they're going to get another shot off, or if we're just going to get right into PD range. And if we do get into PD range, how many missiles survive? Okay, here's the moment of truth. And yep, no damage. 87 energy weapon, impact strength 1. So, our missiles are ineffective in the sense that they are too easily shot down by the opposing AMMs and also by the PD. So now, to be fair, they have like a fairly overwhelming number of vessels here, because like we're fighting at their planet, so they appear to have a number of stations in orbit, and they're all kind of huddling together, which is a smart move, right, to defend against missiles. But I don't think we're going to be able to inflict any damage with this missile technology that we have. That being said, we have built all these missiles, and it'd be a shame to put them to waste. So we have about 2,000 left on Earth, but we also have another 4,000. So let's say we have about 5,000 total missiles. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shoot my 5,000 Stellar Bridge missiles at these guys, and at the very least will deplete their AMMs, if only, you know, marginally. And yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take out at least 5,000 of their AMMs. Now, economically, it doesn't really make sense. I'm shooting size 5 missiles. They're shooting size 1 missiles. It's the economic advantage for them. But mine are kind of, I'm not going to use them because I'm going to design some new missiles soon anyway. So I'm going to want to replace all my old missiles with new missiles. So I might as well shoot the old ones. So that's what I'm going to queue up. And I think that'll be it for now. And unless something special happens, then I might add a little bit to this recording afterwards. But for now, that's going to be it. So I'll see you guys next time. I think I'm just going to unload the missiles. I don't expect anything's going to happen. And after that, I think we're just going to go back to the base, resupply, rearm, come back, shoot the missiles again. And I think we're just going to rinse and repeat a few times. And I don't expect to take any damage. I don't expect them to take any damage. But if something different happens, then I'll let you know. So I'll catch up with you guys in a moment. Alright, I'm back just to bring you another small update. So I just fired the second volley of missiles, and this time this is what happened. So only 65 AMMs actually intercepted and hit me, but then you can see here 250 energy weapon impacts, and of course none of my missiles got through. Plus 3, he's got some really strong like spinal lasers. That also shot down a couple missiles. So this is telling me that I really need to up the speed. Excuse me, to up the speed on my missiles. And what I'm thinking is that we might. All right, here comes my. Oh, shit. I hit 5 days accidentally instead of hitting 5 minutes. So unfortunately, the scanner kind of missed something, and we hit some damage. We got some damage on one of the ships. That was... oh, we only took armor damage. That's fortunate. That was a misclick on my part. I meant to do 30 seconds here, not 5 days, obviously. Oh, not 5 seconds. That's a little too conservative. Right. So I'm going to have ion engines for this latest batch of missiles, and you know we'll have a pretty high multiplier for speed. Now, I would like to be able to shoot my missiles at, see, okay, so the AMMs, again, not as devastating as that first round of AMMs. I wonder if he doesn't quite have ammo for loaded on all of the ships. But yeah, the PD is just, like, his PD is just as effective as my PD. But my missiles are really bad. They're only 16,000 kilometers per second. So my missiles, in order to do anything, have to be much faster. So the question is, like, if I were to redesign this missile with the relative same strength, but just make it as fast as possible, would that be enough to avoid enough AMMs and then also punch through the PD screen? Question mark. I don't know. If I believe that is the case, could I also design a missile that has that same speed, but that has longer than 15 million kilometer range, which is the range that they're shooting me at? I don't know. But one alternative is to make a 2-stage missile, or kind of a Merving missile, which releases its payload at about 2 million kilometers. Because right now, I've been able to tell that his AMMs are shooting me at, are impacting it at about 1 million kilometers. So one way to bridge that gap would be to design something like a super fast, deadly missile that only needs to travel like 2 million kilometers and just a slower delivery system to get the missile there. So I'm going to play around with that um, once we watch these last salvos impact here. So I'm going to play around with those design possibilities once I get the required tech. And I think that's going to be what I bring you guys next next episode. Okay, we're shooting down his missiles. I think AMMs are about to hit. Looks like there were 2 rounds of AMMs that time. Let's look at the log here. Yeah. 2 rounds of AMMs, and then the PD cleaned the rest up. I believe in terms of ammo, yeah, this is our last volley. So let's shoot the last volley and head back to base. The missile launchers are still reloading. Now, one nice thing is I'll be able to, as long as I use size 5 missiles, I'll be able to test the new missiles using these existing missile cruisers. Since at the very least we can say that this whole operation was a success and that we did not lose, we did not lose all our ships. I guess by that standard, it'd be hard to fail. But it does mean we conserve this fleet. And although I'm not necessarily determined to completely refit this entire fleet, I think it'll be expensive and time consuming. A fleet that can deflect all incoming missiles is useful, if only to have a presence to drain their missile stocks, right? I can just park this fleet, absorb all the missile hits, and then go in with a different fleet that doesn't have as much PD coverage. And if I can equip this fleet with missiles that actually penetrate, oh guys, after unloading our entire arsenal of missiles, we did 1 point of armor damage to the Admiral Zakharov. Unbelievable. All right, this is a great victory. Wow, that's hilarious. 1 nuclear detonation, strength 6. And they shot down everything, so 1 missile got through. Did 6 damage, only hit armor. Now, this might tell us more. So I think now we know that the Zakharov has at minimum armor penetration of 2. Okay, time to go home. Well, not quite home, but time to go back to base. Hang on. What's Fleet 02 and Station 02? Oh, this is just a jump gate. And what station? Oh, these guys were supposed to head. Oh, these are the supply ships, and I think they're heading back to Earth to get more supplies. Got it. Okay, so Uvina fleet, movement, fleet, Uvina station. We're gonna refuel from the refueling hub. We're gonna load from ordnance transfer hub. And let's do those two things. Let's start with that. Okay, let's get out of here. And I might repeat this whole process a couple times just to empty my stocks of these Stellar Bridge missiles. And I think I'll actually finally officially end the episode now. And I'll catch up with you guys in the near future. Take care.